project, but here we are. So on behalf of the Superior Cycling Association, I welcome you to the grand opening of the Jackpot and High Climber Trails. I mean, this is something. Yes. And to the renovated and rehabbed Britton Peak trails too, because we took those trails and brought them up to a standard that was similar to what our Jackpot and High Climber trails are, and the trails that we all like to ride are just even better. We've waited a long time to celebrate these trails. We've been riding on them since 2018, but for a lot of reasons, it's taken us this long to have a grand opening. The trails were fully completed and officially opened in August of last year, when the Forest Service gave us approval to advertise and promote our trails. But here we are, Jackpot High Climber, ready to ride. We're going to recognize them as one of the best trails in the state. And I think those of us that have been out there and have ridden those, know that we've got something pretty special here. Before I talk about these two trails, I'd like to give a little bit of a history about how we got here today, because it's been 15 years, 16 years I guess now, since we started initially. 2005 we started our initial effort to build, and that wasn't SCA. The first mountain bike trails were built by Mark and Melinda Spindler, that were owners of the bike shop. They secured grant funding. They talked to the county to get the county's permission to build 2 miles of trail on county-owned land in the midst of the Pincushion Mountain Recreation Area, and they completed that back 80 trail, and I would say it was an immediate hit because we didn't have any real mountain bike trails. Now, this wasn't what we would today call a hit, but it was for what we had back then. It was a hit, and I think the first time I rode it, I thought, well, who wants to ride this? This is really hard and difficult and challenging. But then after you rode it once or twice or 3 times, and you got kind of lines on some of the features, and that it became a lot more fun. And we had some great times out there. We would have group rides, and we'd just do laps on the trail, and it was just a lot of fun. So that was our first effort, to get mountain bike trails in Cook County. Then in 2009, the Boy Scouts of America had this great idea of having this service project in Cook County, and they approached the Forest Service about building mountain bike trails at Pincushion and Britton Peak. They were going to bring up 500 Boy Scouts to do this service project. They were going to build 15 miles of trail, and the Forest Service worked with them, and it was a great effort. Unfortunately, it fell a little bit short. I think only 50 Boy Scouts showed up, and maybe 2 miles of trail was built. And this was all hand-built trail, so it was not, to the quality that we have. But again, it was another advance to our trail network. Well, over the time, then we started thinking about getting more trail built at Britton Peak. We worked with the town of Tofte. They gave us some money to hire a contractor to come out there and do some work. We got an FRTP grant and some federal, some Forest Service money to hire Adam and Micah to go up and work on creating more of the trails at Britton Peak. Well, eventually we got those trail clusters built, and we had 7 miles of trail at Britton Peak. Well, eventually, 5 miles initially, 7 miles after we built the boom. And then we had 10 miles of trail at Pincushion. Some pretty darn nice riding, actually, for what we were working with. Let's see. Then we got to about 2015, and about 2015. Actually, before that, 2010, when we started doing all this trail construction. Not we, because it was just kind of a local loose-knit group of people that were doing this trail construction, there was no Superior Cycling Association. Superior Cycling Association was formed in 2010 kind of as an impetus that started with the Boy Scout project and the Back 80 project and some of the smaller grants that were building additional trails at Pincushion and Britton Peak. But there was enough interest that we recognized that we needed to have an organization and a means to carry out what our dreams were about having mountain bike trails in Cook County. So we formed the Superior Cycling Association, and with that, we started to have lots of ideas about what could be done. Lots of ideas. And I think it was then around 2015, we decided we needed to develop a master plan. And that was, I think, the first big step that we took to kind of formalize our dreams about what mountain biking could be in Cook County. We completed that master plan in 2016 after a lot of meetings and conversations and meeting with stakeholders and interests and going through a lot of different drafts, but we ended up with what I think was a great tool for us to use to then approach our grantors and those that were wanting to help us complete this system of trails. Well, with that, we submitted an application to the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission to be designated as a regional trail under their system of parks and trails in Greater Minnesota, and were accepted into their program. One of, I think, around 70 parks and trails in Greater Minnesota that are now part of that regional system, which made us eligible for their funding, which was an important consideration. But we had this idea that we wanted to start our efforts building this connector trail that we were calling, and that connector trail was designed to go from our Pincushion Trail Cluster to our Britton Peak Trail Cluster, 50 plus miles. Well, we kind of knew that we weren't up to taking on a 50-mile project, so we kind of cut that down to a more manageable project, and that was our idea of let's go after and seek funding to build the connector between Lutsen Mountains and Britton Peak, 16 miles, and of course, 16 miles of trail. We'd already built 16 miles of trail, so how hard could that be? Well, we found out it's a lot more work than we thought, but we went out and secured our first grant, a Federal Recreational Trails Program grant, with match coming from Lutsen Mountains and LTTA to help us get that first grant to start building Jackpot, which helped us then leverage money from the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission, and we started working, in 2018 to build the Jackpot Trail. It was an incredible trail, but those two grants made up less than 50% of what we were going to need to build the entire trail. So next we approached the Legislative Citizens Commission on Minnesota Resources. They have money from the State Environmental Trust Fund, and they were agreed to be great partners with us too. And then last but not least, IRRB came in to fill in that last piece of the puzzle, which allowed us to have the resources to complete the trail and continue our rehab of the trails to bring them up to the standards that this new trail was being built. And so with that, we started construction in 2018, and of course we were pretty intent on wanting to have this be the most incredible trail that we could have, and we wanted to make sure we had the best trail builders, building this trail. So we went out and hired Rock Solid Contracting out of Copper Harbor, and they contracted with Dirt Candy, who had Mike and Adam had already laid out this route in the corridor that connected Britton Peak and Lutsen Mountains. We knew it was something special, but until it started to be constructed, we weren't quite sure how special it was going to be. But it became obvious really quick when that trail was being built. The first mile, we were in awe of what that looked like and how that road. You couldn't ride out there enough time to go up and down that little drainage crossing and up and down those hills. It was amazing. And every mile that got built got better. Yeah, I mean, it was just yeah. I mean, this is a special trail. Yeah, we know that. Here we are to celebrate that. So, what's special about it? Well, Jackpot and High Climber is a 16-mile point-to-point trail through the North Shore's, scenic maple ridges. This trail has big climbs, big descents, fast berms, rock armoring. It's got jumps, it's got rollers, it has scenic vistas too. Yeah. Everything that a rider wanting to just have a great day on the trail would look for, and keep bringing them back to ride it over and over again. So today, here we are. We just want to acknowledge and thank all the partners that we have that have made this possible. First, the U.S. Forest Service. I mean, all these trails are located on Forest Service. All the Britton Peak trails are connected between Britton Peak and mountains entirely on Forest Service land. Without a good, strong relationship with the Forest Service, this would not have even gone anywhere. And here we are today, celebrating that. Thank you to Mike and your predecessors. There's a lot of people put in time for the last, 10 years to get to this today. And let's hope that relationship continues to flourish, and we figure out a way to get this next part of the connection, in the works too. So I still want to ride it before I have to resort to one of those push-button bikes. I got a year or two left. Another major partner is the county. They've been our fiscal agent for all of our major grants, and as a small nonprofit volunteer organization, we don't have those kinds of capabilities, and to have the county take on the fiscal responsibility was critical to our grantors. There's maybe a lack of confidence that our organization might be able to handle the hundreds of thousands of dollars going through our checkbook in a way that might be fully accountable to grantors. And so the county stepping in and doing that was really important. And the county has from day one been with us. They were the ones that allowed the first trails at the back 80 to be built on county land in 2005. They allowed their employees to work with us, to work with contracting and setting up bids, which have all for the project has all gone through the county to follow government procedures and that. And so without the county, again, another partner that is just critical and essential to making this trail possible. Our grantors, obviously without the money, we don't have a trail. And, it's not cheap to build mountain bike trails, or any kind of trails for that matter. And people that have this illusion that trails just happen, they don't. There's a lot of planning, coordination, and work, just plain hard work that goes into making a trail happen. And we can't thank our grantors more. The Federal Recreational Trails Program, which is administered by the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, They were the first ones that gave us funding for the Jackpot Trail. We used that to move in to get a match, or use that as a match to our Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails money. The Legislative Citizens Commission on Minnesota Resources, the Environmental Trust Fund folks saw this as a value. Of course, Rob Eklund, who sits on the Legislative Citizens Commission, was instrumental in helping us shepherd that through their committee process and approval process. Then the Iron Range Resources Board, and again, Rob Eklund, who sits on that board, also but the commissioner and the support that the commission has had for not just mountain bike trail building, but trail building in general, seeing it as a valuable economic tool for our communities in northeast Minnesota. I mean, I think it's a great investment. You don't see a business out here, but you see a business here that is so tied into having recreational resources available, and we couldn't do it without them. Our trail designers and builders, I mean, we wanted, again, the best trail that we could have built, and wanted this to be something that people would remember and come back and ride over and over again. So rock solid and dirt candy, you guys are incredible. I mean, I think we have the best trail builders in the country working on our trails. They know how to use our soils, our rock, deal with our water, and all the features that we have out there to make this pretty special. We talk about it being special, but just talking about it is one thing. We're kind of biased, but you know what? There's a lot of folks that are posting on some of the website apps that are out there that are echoing the same thing. I'm going to read a few of these reviews that have come in because they, unsolicited, these are just riders out there that are offering their comments. The first one, it says, absolutely incredible trail. It's like riding a 28-mile pump track. I want to shake hands of the builders. Best trail I've ever ridden, and I'm from Northern California, which has some pretty epic stuff. So this trail is everything we could have wanted in an intermediate rated trail. It's blisteringly fast in part, intense rock gardens that are monstrous in size, and rock slabs that are like riding a roller coaster in parts. This is a must-do for intermediate riders and for riders that like to push themselves. I look forward to the future of this trail and pray that we will be more like this in the future. This trail sets the bar insanely high. Here's hoping they can beat it. I think we'll try. Easily the best trail in Minnesota. It has a combination of technical and all the flow you could want. It is a wilderness setting and the scenery is amazing. I can second the opinion that this is the best trail in Minnesota, if not the Midwest. This has everything. I've never been on a trail more well built, with so many juicy berms, rock gardens, and elevation. We did an out and back on a bluebird day, like today, and it's the North Shore at its finest. Highly recommend getting up here and riding it both ways, but maybe on separate days. Lovely. So I mean, you can see. I mean, these are just some random reviews that have been sent in to a couple of the trail apps, and we have something special here. I mean, it is an incredible trail. Lastly, here, I think we want to thank all our members, that have contributed, and our business sponsors that have contributed to provide maintenance funding to keep all our trails, open and safe, and provide the means to keep them the way they should be. I mean, volunteers have contributed thousands of hours of time, cutting trees, writing grants, managing contractors, blowing leaves, clearing drainages, building and repairing boardwalks, all the things, large and small, that goes into making these trails be what they are. So thank you. Thank everybody. So as I stand here today, I'm pretty much in awe at what these mountain bike trails are and what we have to ride here in Cook County. We have a slogan, Superior Cycling Association has a slogan. It says, dream, build, ride. Well, we had big dreams that resulted in a master plan. We hired the best trail builders to create these incredible mountain bike trails, and today here we're celebrating by riding. So thanks to everybody, and thanks to all the partners. You know, this is a pretty special time, so thanks. And now we have a couple others that are going to say a few words. Some of our partners that are going to, and Mike Croteau, our district ranger from the Gunflint district, going to say a few words. You know, thank you, Mike, and appreciate all the efforts that you and all your cohorts, you know, have contributed to make this what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was thinking. So on the district, I've been here 4 years, and just looking at the trail system, not only bike trails, but we've got just about everything on the North Shore. And in fact, here over the next couple of months, we're going to be officially adding some dog sled trails that have been there out on the landscape for years. We're just making them more official. But just on my district alone, I have 770 miles of trails.
Oh, that's good.
Oh my goodness.
And what's amazing is there's just, you know, we've all got our kind of preferences, not only in our food that we eat, but just how we like to recreate. And it just, you know, addresses so many people's desires because we have the landscape to do it. And so, you know, these trails were just a natural fit. I mean, they've, like you described in the history of this, I mean, they've been the brainchild and making them possible for years. But getting them to the point of what they're like now, I mean, it is about as close to heaven on a mechanized equipment as you possibly can get. The first time I went on it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is like butter on a warm day and a hot piece of fresh homemade bread. This is just, I mean, I was like, I can't believe this. I mean, it's just amazing. So, I mean, we're pleased to be a partner of Superior Cycling Association. Just a great work. We hope to see that, you know, in the future and make that possible and being a partner. And you know, it's such a beautiful thing where we can be relevant in our recreation provisions for the people who love public lands. You know, those preferences and relevancy changes sometimes through time, and I'm just excited that, you know, there were groups and individuals that were willing to put in the hard work. We don't have the staff, the money to do that, so we need partners like SCA to be able to carry that forward and be willing to take some partnership and responsibility for that. To make it sustainable in the future. We don't want it just for 5 years. We want it for future generations. We want something that's going to be hard, it's going to last, it's going to stay relevant. That's a huge investment that the financial partners have put into that, and just, you know, the time and the energy that people put into it. So I'm excited from represent the Superior National Forest in that we're elated to continue to have that partnership and making that dream come true. You know, dream, build, ride, continue to partner, and yeah, make those dreams happen. They don't happen overnight, as you described. So it takes hardworking, passionate individuals to make it happen. So thank you to all that have put that effort into it. So thank you.
Who else? Oh, Adam's going to say a few words. Trail builder perspective, you know.
Trail builder perspective, I guess from a rider's perspective too, being here since 2000 and watching this whole evolution happen throughout the years. It's so cool to see just how everything's worked out, and there's just so neat when the Forest Service finally was like, yeah, we're going to do this, let's go forward. And you know, I remember early on we were like, we're going to do it all by hand, and then that obviously we couldn't, like that was going to be impossible to ever get it done. And then when the club bought a machine, and I kind of reinvented myself as a trail builder. I've been doing work on the trails a little bit, but not as like a career. So I went over and learned how to run the machine with Aaron from Rock Solid. And even then, that first year, it was like, okay, you can use the machine, but make sure you make everything look like it was built by hand. And I remember Mark Spindler saying, yeah, you know, because we had done some original layout before Aaron came and did the real layout of Pincushion, and his whole idea was, well, we don't want to let people go too fast because they might hurt themselves. And so it was really slow and really like, and well, that's evolved. Like that has changed immensely. Now it's like we have some speed. How can we just make riders keep that speed so they don't have to work as hard and keep that smile on their face even growing as they move down the trail? So that was neat, and you know, I give so much credit to the Superior Cycling Association. Like, this is where we got our career start with our trail building business, and we've built trails now for clubs all over the country and on different national forests and different public lands. And but this is the core. This is home, and we're so excited that we get to keep being a part of it. And when we got the call to kind of lay out the Jackpot High Climber, we were so psyched because I'd been grooming these ski trails in the middle of the night for years, and I knew the terrain really well, and like we just knew there was like just some amazing topography back there that you just can't get anywhere else in the region. And so when we went out there, and it was, of course, there was a deadline, it needed to be done, and it was the middle of July. And you know, like, we've learned over time, July's not the best time to lay out trail because you can't see anything in the woods. All you can see is leaves in your face. But so we spent a lot of miles hiking back and forth and trying to find the right route, you know, dodging different segments of land so we could stay all on the federal land swath that goes from here all the way to Britton. And man, it was so exciting for us then to see the build part start to happen. And when Matt from Rock Solid kind of, you know, his crew was the one that did that first mile that Tim was talking about, and he, like, that was kind of like, the neat part is, like, we had the corridor flag, we knew where we wanted to go, but like the SCA gave the builders a lot of freedom to just do like what they felt was right. And so Matt from Rock Solid kind of just set the stage, and like every other builder that came after him or along with him was all like, okay, like, how do we like just keep up in that, like, that level as much as we can, and with like that friendly competition, and what can we put in our section that like makes our section a little different than everybody else. So I think on this particular trail, I think there were 6 different operators running crews at various different times. And when you're a builder, you can ride some of it and be like, oh yeah, I know who did this section. You know, like, oh yeah, this ride's just as good backwards as it does forwards. Like, I know who did that trail, you know. And so it's just really neat. And then to see the final thing come together and just have such a great community to support it, it's just so cool. And we were out this morning doing some riding, and we're just on some of the rehab stuff we did last fall, and we're just like, this is just so unbelievable. We don't get to ride here enough. We're not home enough to get to ride it every week, but every time we get back here, it's just like, we're blown away. And even though, like, we were sitting there in the excavator last fall doing the work, and now you ride it after a season, and it's just like that much faster and that much better, and super cool. So we feel super fortunate to be part of this whole process in this community. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Paul, you want to say a couple words too?
I want to touch on a couple things. One, the naming of the trails. Nobody's really talked about how we come up with our names. Back when we first started with the Britton Peak cluster, we were asked to kind of just pull in some logging names. And so we came up with Short Stacker and Crosscut and Skookum. And then it came to these trails. And we were at a meeting, and we're talking about the names, and we're throwing names out there. And Jackpot has a dual meaning. Jackpot is, we hit the jackpot with this trail. But in logging, Jackpot is a big mass of trees that blew over, and they're all in a big pile. And that's kind of where we came up with that name. But the other name is High Climber. And in any logging camp, the person who climbs to the top of the tree and starts lopping off the tree to make sure when that tree is felled that everybody in the camp is safe is called the high climber. They're the most respected person in the logging camp. That has a dual meaning. That ridge line right there is the highest point of the trail, pretty much the highest point of the trail. That's high climber on that ridge line back there. But it's got a third meaning, and that's with the most respected person in the logging camp. It's kind of like Tim. He's the most respected person in our group. Our organization, when I first was asked to join the board, I was asked, hey, we got this club, this mountain bike club. You want to come be a part of it? Got into it. It was really like a club. I mean, it was really loose, barely organized, and some shakeup happened in the board, and Tim stepped up and said, I'll lead. And he turned it from a club into an organization. And we wouldn't be where we are right now today without Tim's hard work and dedication. I've learned so much about leadership, networking, planning, building relationships. All of that is really based in Tim's understanding of how to find money and how to make those connections. So really, Tim has the biggest part of the thanks for this entire project, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah. Jim, IRRB, one of our grantors, and a partner that we hope we can continue to work with as we try to look to the future and see realization of more of our great dreams and plans.
Hi everyone, I'm Jim Plummer. I work for Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation, and I'm a mountain biker. Our mission at the IRRR is to invest resources to foster vibrant growth and economic prosperity in Northeast Minnesota. One way we achieve that mission is through our trails program. So this year, for example, our budget was $3.5 million, so it's pretty large. So we supported this trail with a $375,000 Regional Trails grant, which of course helped you pay for the construction, reconstruction of the existing trails, trailhead signs, those type of things. You all did an excellent job in attracting other outside money that you've already talked about. That's not easy to do. It takes a lot of time and effort to write grants. So according to our numbers, the total project investment of this trail is right around $1.2 million. So that's nothing to sneeze at. And you got a lot for that money. You got a lot for that money. So Northeastern Minnesota has increasingly become rich with miles and varieties of trails, as you've talked about. Mountain biking, ATV, snowmobile, what have you. Trails add, so as an economic development agency, why would we invest in trails? So trails add to the quality of life for local residents, as you know. They attract tourism dollars and spending, and I think it's really important for the North Shore here. They're a workforce development, recruiting, and retention tool, right? You've got a little bit of a problem with your workforce up here, right? To some extent. So trails have a significant and positive impact on local economies. The North Shore has always been wide known for outdoor adventure, and you folks have now expanded those opportunities with this world-class, and I mean it, world-class mountain bike trail system. I'm not kidding you. I've been involved in so many of these different mountain bike systems going in. We have the best trail builders. You have them here, we have them throughout Northeast Minnesota. So we're super, super proud to support this project because it further poises Northeastern Minnesota as a national mountain biking destination. So as an agency, we've invested in 7 other trail systems in the area. And just kind of moving from west to east. Tioga and Cohasset, Redhead, and Chisholm. I was just a little bit involved in that one. Lookout Mountain in Virginia, Giants Ridge in Biwabic, Cuyuna. That's the, I think that's the new kid on the block. Hidden Valley in Ely, and Split Rock Wilds, a little bit of a tongue twister, in Lake County. These investments are working. These investments are working. So, on behalf of the IRRR, congratulations to you all who have so diligently worked to develop this, and I mean world-class trail project. Your vision and commitment has made our region a better place to work and play. So thanks for having me, and I'm excited to ride.
We're glad to get you out there, Jim. Thanks, Jim. Linda, this is a great follow-up to Jim. Well, no, it's a great follow-up to Jim because Jim's talking about the economic value and the investment that you're putting into trails around the northeastern Minnesota because of the value to the communities, the economic value to the communities.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you. I don't know some of you. I'm Linda Jurek, and I'm the executive director of Visit Cook County. We are the destination marketing organization for northeastern Minnesota. We are your amplifier for all the good work that you're doing. Think of us as that voice that's going to get that out there to the world. We represent the communities of Lutsen, Tofte, Schroeder, Grand Portage, Grand Marais, and the Gunflint Trail, and our partners significantly at Lutsen Mountains. So I have a little story because I've been, in my head, I dream like I am that biker. I am that person on Jackpot. I grew up here, so I want you to go back to a 5th grader. I'm not going to date myself. And this little ragtag group of kids getting on their Stingray bikes, heading out of Grand Marais for a day of exploration at 5 Mile Rock. That was a big deal. We had a cabin at Greenwood Lake growing up. Greenwood on the Gunflint, not Lake County, Greenwood Lake. And I would put my bike in the back of my dad's truck and I'd jump on my Stingray because I wanted to gravel grind on the road out of Greenwood Lake. So I think I was that first gravel grinder. And this was back in the 70s, folks. So just keep that in mind. So as you've all said, cycling, mountain biking, single track, it's grown not only in our region, the state, the nation, across the world exponentially. And we are really happy to be a part of that. We look at it as what we can do at Visit Cook County to support events, to support the marketing, is that halo effect to bring people here. So when we think about our growth at Visit Cook County and our support of this system through the Lutsen Tofte Tourism Association, those are the hard dollars, we jump over to the event side. I started here in 2013, and in 2011, just a tiny event took place, the Lutsen 99er right here. A little over 100 riders. This last year, close to 2,000 if you take those kids into account on Sunday. 2016, Le Grand du Nord started in town. That had about 173 riders. This past year on Memorial Day, 600 riders tapped out. Great gravel grinding event. So when we look at that, and we look at our support of not only trails, but we look at our support via events, that's over $300,000 since 2013 to support events that allow us to amplify cycling here. So, in closing, I just want to say that, I'm going to go with Mike's butter, smoothness, warm day versus everything y'all have said about jumping over rocks and stuff, because that kind of frightens me. But maybe I'll get there someday with your tutelage. So on behalf of Visit Cook County, I always want to draw out Trusty Vick, our Director of Marketing and PR, and Nick Cusick, our Event and Marketing Coordinator, are here with me today. So reach out to any of us. You have great ideas. We're going to be your spark plug if we can help you any way possible in getting that voice out there. So for all of you riding today, spectacular. Go have fun.
Thanks, Linda.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody else